Councillors, we will begin in 1 minute. If you can please get ready. Thank you. Councillors, can I have your attention, please? I welcome you all to this meeting of the Cardinia Shire Council and declare the meeting open. This meeting will be conducted in accordance with the Council's governance rules. It is important that members of the public present in the gallery respect the setting and do not disrupt the meeting, particularly during debate and discussion by councillors on items in the agenda, and in particular, do not interject during the debate. We will commence the meeting with the following reflection. I would ask those gathered to join us now for a few moments of silence as we reflect on our roles in this chamber. Please use this opportunity for reflection, prayer or thought to focus on our shared intention to work respectfully together for the well-being of our whole community. Thank you. The Cardinia Shire Council respectfully acknowledges that we are on the traditional land of the Boonwurrung and Wurundjeri people and pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. We have received apologies today from Councillor Brett Owen and Councillor Carol Ryan for tonight's meeting. Minutes of previous meetings. Can I have a motion, please, to adopt the minutes of the previous meetings as listed? Councillor Davies, do I have a seconder? Councillor Moore, all those in favour? I declare that carried. Declarations of interest. Are there any councillors with declarations of interest tonight? Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to declare a conflict of interest in item 6.1.2.
Sorry, my mic's not working. Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Can I please ask for a reason as well, Councillor Cameron?
Family Association.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. We will now begin tonight's meeting with community question time. We have received a couple of questions from Joanne Robinson from Lang Lang. Is Miss Robinson in the gallery? No. Okay, so we will get those answers to her in writing. So we also have received similar questions from Bruce Hood, also referring to the Tom Road Lang Lang matter. Is Mr Hood in the gallery? Thank you, I acknowledge you, Mr Hood. I will refer these questions to Ms Rosick to read and answer. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you for your question, Mr Bruce Hood. The questions are submitted on behalf of a group of concerned residents of Tresize Court in Lang Lang, and the questions pertain to the manner in which the planning panel has considered objections and also engaged with submitters, and also questions in relation to traffic impacts. The questions to Council are as follows. Question 1. Did anyone from the planning panel actually visit the site and speak to the resident to inform their decisions? Did any councillors visit the site and speak to the resident? Oh, sorry, it's been repeated. Sorry about that. The answer to that question is the panel undertook an unaccompanied site inspection on the 31st of October 2022. All submitters were invited to attend and present to the planning panel for Amendment C262. A directions hearing was held in September 2022 and the panel hearing was held on the 2nd of November 2022. This process was conducted by the Planning Panels Victoria, and the panel was independently appointed by the Minister for Planning to hear submissions on the amendment. No submitters requested to be heard by the panel. However, some submitters requested to be emailed documents from the panel hearing and were provided with all relevant documents. And I'm not aware if any councillors visit the site. That is not documented. Question 2. Has any consideration been given to the mental or emotional well-being of the residents of Tresize Court or the safety of the children playing in the court? The response is council officers in the panel are required to consider the relevant planning issues under the Planning and Environment Act 1987 and the Cardinia Planning Scheme. The safety of all residents was a consideration of the proposed layout of the development. Council's traffic engineers have reviewed the proposed development and provided advice regarding the safety of the access through Tresize Court and support the proposed arrangement. Question 3, has consideration been given to creating alternative access to Tom Road via the commercial area of Lang Lang, thus eliminating any impacts on residential properties? Answer, council officers, including traffic engineers, considered the alternative access suggestions in the submission. However, it's considered that the existing 16-metre wide road reserve containing Tom Road and Tresize Court has a capacity to accommodate the additional traffic volumes expected from the proposed subdivision, with minor alterations to the existing road pavement width at the right angle bend in Tresize Court. And further information about the panel recommendations is included in Council Officer report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rosie. The items on today's agenda are as follows. Item 6.1.1 T220332 PA subdivision of land and creation of easements and restrictions at 41 Bayview Road, Officer. I wish to move a motion for this item that differs to the officer's recommendation and will therefore step down from the chair for this item. I call on Councillor Kowalczyk as the deputy to the mayor to take the chair during consideration of this item. Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk.
Thank you, Mayor Radford. Councillor Radford, can you move your motion, please?
Sorry about that. Thank you. I move the officer's recommendation that council, having considered all the matters required under section 60 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987 in relation to planning application number T220332, decides to grant a permit in respect of the land known and described as L1 and L2 at 41 Bayview Road, Officer, for the subdivision of land and the creation of easements and restrictions, generally in accordance with the endorsed plan, subject to the following 78 conditions, I think there was. My alternative motion includes conditions lots 101 to 103 reduced to 2 lots, giving a total residential lot yield to be 66 lots or less. Site-specific controls for residential lots facing Timbertop Boulevard to include additional front facade, landscape design and front fence requirements, generally reflecting the Timbertop design guidelines. And traffic management plan showing proposed traffic management control devices on Renshaw Drive between Elsham Street and eastern boundary of Lot 202. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. Do I have a seconder for that item? Councillor Davies, thank you. I'll go to the mover, Councillor Radford, to speak.
Thank you. Firstly, the Mayor normally has an impartial role in a meeting, so I just wanted to explain why I wanted to step down, because then I would not be able to actually speak to this item. So thank you to the Deputy for taking over the chair so that I could do so. I acknowledge that there's been numerous communication from our residents in Renshaw Drive and Timbertop Boulevard, and I've heard them and I've given them great consideration. This has been very difficult. I have really thought about it, and I acknowledge that the councillors have given a lot of time in the planning team to go over things with the residents as well as myself, and I thank you for their time to do so. So I had to include a couple of conditions to ensure that the neighbourhood character would be met. Timbertop is a boutique estate, so to speak, with wide frontages, and it was not right for another subdivision to come next to it, but up to it with very small frontages and not have the same level of landscaping and facade front design guidelines. So I really wanted to ensure that that was included. So that's a couple of those. Also, I'd like to see some traffic management controls on Renshaw Drive between Aylsham Street and eastern boundary of Lot 202 to reduce any speed that may come down through Renshaw Drive. The Renshaw Drive residents want to see that Renshaw is not continued through, and I've really taken this seriously and had a really good look at it. It has to connect through. It's part of the original subdivision plan. On the original subdivision plan, it clearly says that it's a construction of a temporary edge strip and a no through road sign is to be constructed until the next development continues. So it's always been there, and the reason why that needs to continue is that there are a number of important linked services that need to continue into that next estate. There's also a local park being built, and there is a school on the other side of the barrier, which both require access by pedestrians and cars. And the local road network will open up further around, with Hedgevale not far from being open up very soon, and that's a major connector road. The super lot is going to be considered as a separate future planning application. There was a lot of questions with those, so we wanted to just make sure that council could assess that application on its own and make sure that it has appropriate interfaces to the park and the street. I'll go to my seconder for now. Thanks, Jack. Councillor Kowalczyk.
Thanks, Councillor Radford. I'll now ask the seconder to speak, Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Mayor. I'd like to acknowledge the numerous residents who have contacted me. I believe several are in the gallery, and I would like to thank you for joining us tonight and your emails. I have a huge respect for our Mayor, and she has demonstrated continued, consistent just passion to do the best for the residents of her ward and of Cardinia Shire, to which she and her family are also residents and of this estate in question tonight. As a councillor, we are entrusted by the community to vote as we choose, but with the responsibility that we do so in the best interests of the community, past and present. And if I was a current Renshaw Drive resident or neighbour, would I want this road continued? Probably not. But the decision we make tonight needs to be on the whole of the Shire. What council can do is ensure orderly, consistent planning, and hence significant changes have been proposed in this motion. However, I think the major concern for residents is the access at Renshaw, and it's been requested that the road is closed. Now, I have sought advice, and the overwhelming advice from the council staff was that even if council moves, we're going to close this road. That decision wouldn't stand up if the developer then took the decision to VCAT for a review, because the road design and the access as per the PSP, which has already been consulted on, is going to be getting more weight than any subsequent changes that council suggests at this stage. So such a proposal won't achieve the outcomes residents have asked for, and it wouldn't be supported at VCAT, and then it puts council at risk of spending a lot of money. So I have a huge respect for our Mayor and the process followed, and I haven't decided which way I'm going to vote tonight, but I am leaning towards voting in support, because I can support that a process has been followed and that the changes in the proposed motion, which have actually been agreed to in principle by the developer, will be in the best interest of Cardinia's residents, current and future. So I'd like to acknowledge the difficulty and the shades of grey, and I also want to acknowledge the efforts by the Mayor, who is the ward councillor, who has addressed this as I would in my own ward, and I yeah, and I do respect the difficulty, but also the approach you've taken in trying to do the right thing. So in conclusion, I'm very glad to second this alternate motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Are there any other speakers to this item? I'll go to you, Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Look, this is one of those really curly ones that come up from time to time, and they're going to come up more regular in future. Considering the PSP had the roadway in it originally, and anyone who looked at that when they first bought it would have seen that that was the way it was meant to be, would consider that if it goes to VCAT, they're going to look at the PSP and say it was existing there already. The difficulty is with this is if people don't realise, if you go to VCAT, we've asked for some changes and a whole lot of conditions. I think the mayor who's stood herself down at the moment said I think there was 78 or something conditions on the property. If you go to VCAT, there is a chance a lot of those will get knocked down and the original application could be upheld, which means then you don't get a lot of your conditions on it. So it's one of those curly ones where if you reject it totally, you might get 0 conditions or very few. So therefore you don't get any changes which might sort of make it more manageable, the area, and more livable. So council is stuck with the decision where if we go to VCAT, I don't want to see that happen. I think the 78 conditions and the other things we've asked for do meet some of the requirements from the residents. It doesn't reach all of them, but on the other hand, I'd rather grab all of those and make sure the developer complies with those and we can enforce that than strictly go to VCAT to find out that they just get what they want and then we have to comply. Anyway, I'll be reluctantly supporting this, but I do believe that council has pushed their luck as far as they can do in relation to asking for as many things as we possibly can while still being reasonable so that the developer will see it as something that they won't have to take it all on and that we'll take it on board. Anyway, that's my position. I know we're all 7 people in the room, so I'm interested to see if anyone else has got anything to say. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Are there any other speakers? I go to Councillor Springfield.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. Look, I too will support the Mayor's proposed motion tonight. And look, I'd like to commend Councillor Radford's work in this because we have had a lot of communication from the residents, and I'm sure she's had more than anyone else being the ward representative up there. Look, I do feel that it's going to create the best outcome that we could achieve out of this situation with the amount of conditions that are held to this planning permit to try and ensure that amenities are kept in keeping with what the state is established. But as my previous councillors have pointed out, this was part of an established plan that this road, when the next phase of development came from this block, would occur. If we were to try and stop that at that point and say we no longer want this road, I think we'd be up for all sorts of liabilities from the owner of the property that's trying to develop, because it is part of the plan of why they took that place on in the first place. But I do believe that the conditions that are attached to this report will create the best outcome, and I do very much sympathise with the residents who have had Renshaw Drive as a closed roadway with a fence at the end up until this point in time. I do. That's all they've known since they've development. They were the first phase of development in this area, but this second phase of development, I believe this is going to be the best outcome we can achieve through this with the conditions attached. Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. Are there any other speakers to this item? There being none, I'll go back to the mover to sum up. Councillor Radford.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Davies, Councillor Ross and Councillor Springfield for your comments on this item. It is quite often a common issue with stage development, especially with stage development that takes a long time to happen between happening. And I understand and I do empathise and understand why the residents would like to see it remained as it is. but it is consistent with the Officer Precinct Structure Plan. It's not designed as a court bowl or a T-head, and so it's designed as a road to continue through. And a council's responsibility is to consider all the information provided, and I've considered that from our council officers, from the developers and from the residents, and I have to make a decision based on those facts. And hence why I've got this alternative motion today, as I wanted to add in some extra conditions to ensure that the character of the existing neighbourhood is continued, as that's really important to residents living in the area as well. So I would just like to move this alternative motion tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. We'll now put that alternate motion for item 6.1.1 to a vote. All those in favour? Against? I declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. I'll now ask our Mayor to chair the meeting again. Thank you, Mayor Radford.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We now move to item 6.1.2, Amendment C262 Planning Permit T19072811 Tom Road, Lang Lang. Can I please ask if we have any conflicts of interest? That was Councillor Cameron. Thank you. We'll wait for Councillor Cameron to leave the room. Can I please ask for a mover? Thank you, Councillor Moore. Are you moving the officer's recommendation?
Thank you, Mayor. I move the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Davies. Thank you. I'll go to the mover to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Davies, for the second. I just like to move the officer's recommendation of the amendment C262 in place of the ward councillor, Councillor Kay Cameron, not here because of the conflict of interest. I just thought I would like to move it. I believe that this amendment also had 12 submissions, and I want to thank the submitters. They are not objectors; they are submissions to this recommendation, to this amendment, and it's followed the panel direction. So I believe that the questions that were asked at the start of the meeting tonight have been answered by Lily Rosick tonight, and answered in good faith. And look, I think the people doing the submissions have had ample opportunity to go to the panel and in the hearing and whatever. And I know it's sometimes very confusing, these panel hearings, and things that where they're maybe not explained completely and totally, where you don't understand. But I think that's follows due course, and I want to move this as a motion, as a recommended motion. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. I now go to the seconder, Councillor Davies, to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. I will support this motion tonight, and this motion is that Council's adopting C263 card to the Cardinia planning scheme and submits the adopted amendment and proposed planning permit to the Planning Minister for approval under Section 31 of the Planning and Environment Act. I'd like to acknowledge the multiple objectors or members of the public and neighbours that have contacted council, and two statutory planners, Ms Grossi and Ms Hazendock, who have been working through this matter. I am in support that due process has been followed, and I do like to echo Councillor Moore's sentiments that it can be confusing, and the different levels of the planning scheme, it's almost like a different language, but I am confident that that the council officer's recommendation to council is something that I can support, and to confirm that council is not adopting panel recommendation 1 in revising the subdivision layout. Council will be adopting panel recommendation 2, which is to make various changes to the proposed planning permit conditions, except those relating to the relocation of the road to the western boundary. Council is adopting amendment C262 card documentation as exhibited, subject to several changes, and submitting the adopted amendment to the Planning Minister. So I will just echo my support to the process, and my acknowledgement of the people involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Any other councillors who would like to speak to this item? Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. I must say, on this issue, I know that a lot of the objectors would be disappointing, but I must say the panel hearing, I've known people who have been on panel hearings before in relation to the people who make the decisions. And when you do go to talk to them afterwards, once they've released their decisions, they actually are really mindful and they are really considerate of the community, and they do listen to the community on what they have to say when they do come along, and they put weight on that too. And they know that these people come along and they have their concerns, and they don't have to express them in the legal jargon that lawyers would, but they do listen to them. And I know that it is very considered, and they take all things into account. So I just want to encourage those people who turned up and put their applications forward to the commissioners or the panel that they would have been considered. So I know sometimes it's disappointing with what they say, but they're driven by guidelines and the Act and everything that they have to do, but they are very considerate. So I'll be supporting this, but I just want to acknowledge the people who put in the objections and went to their time to try and put their case forward. I know on my time on council that if you put your issue forward and you have a go, at least you feel like you did something about it and you did the best you could to get change or get your problem issued that you had with the application. Anyway, I just wanted to add that because I know sometimes people don't know anything about the commissioners. They just think they come in, or the people on these panels, and they just don't really listen, but they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Any other speakers on this item? I see none, so I'll go back to the mover. Councillor Moore, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to recognise this has been around for a fair while, a few years now, and it's nice to see it finalised in its final format and the panel hearing being heard, and I think the best result as they've arrived at the best result. That's all I've got to say, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now put this to a vote. All those in favour? I declare that carried. I'll now ask for Councillor Cameron to return to the chambers, please. Thank you. We'll now go to item 6.2.1, appointment of community asset committees for recreation reserves. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council adopts as written the recommendations made. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I please have a seconder? Councillor Springfield. Thank you. I'll go to the mover to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Springfield, for seconding the motion. Under the Local Government Act, Council is required to officially appoint any persons to the respective Recreation Reserve Community Asset Committees as per the Local Government Act 2020. So we've done a few of them now. Tonight we are acknowledging the Officer of Recreation Reserve, the Worrell Reserve and the Lang Lang Community Recreation Reserves. I will briefly read out the names of each of the volunteers who have put their hand up to support the management of the community reserves. Firstly, for the Officer Recreation Reserve, I thank you to Rob Porter, John Tippendale, Gareth Sheehan, Gary McCombry, Faye McCombry, Jeff Porter and Amy Jones. At Worrell Reserve, thank you Chris Strong, Howard Winter, Neil Burns, Gary Campbell, Jamie Grace and Chris Beardshaw and Claude Colino. And at Lang Lang Community Recreation Reserve, we thank Sam Lowridge, Andrew Bullen, Laura Healy, Carolyn Wainwright, Andrew Wilson, Jared West, Joe Giaco and Jade Tom. Across the Cardinia's community, numerous volunteers spend countless hours helping others, and whilst volunteerism rates are known to be down, they are as appreciated as ever, and one of the highlights in being a councillor is connecting with just so many great people. So I'd like to thank them all for their efforts and wish them all the best in enjoying their communities and giving to others. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. I'll now go to the seconder, Councillor Springfield, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Davies, for moving this item. And it is important to note the volunteers who give so much work and tireless effort to see the best outcomes for these reserves. So I support the appointment of all these people who were, which came about from their recently held public meetings from all their members, and they sort of thrash it out and decide who's interested, who wants to be. But a lot of these names, I've seen them here many years in a row. They've done a lot of great work, and really, it sometimes is a thankless job being a volunteer for a reserve committee. But I would just like, on behalf of council and myself, just to thank all of them for the tireless efforts. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. Any other councillors who would like to speak to this item? I see none, so I'll go back to the mover to sum up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Springfield. I will just briefly conclude to say that Council, tonight I seek your support in moving the council officer recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now put this to a vote. All those in favour? I declare that carried. Thank you. Item 6.2.2, construction of Garfield Netball Pavilion. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I please ask for a seconder? Councillor Ross. Thank you. I'll go to the mover to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. This is exciting times for me. There's a Garfield Netball Pavilion has been a long awaiting renewal. You've got to see it to believe it to understand how behind the times it is. And it's really great to see the particularly the unisex amenities that we're providing for our communities here, particularly like it's a netball is generally female orientated, but they still have male umpires. And so therefore you get that crossover. I think that what we're going to do in the future is to have this all-inclusive pavilions, no matter what we may do in the future. So I think it's a great result. I can see that the tender submitted by Constructive Group Proprietary Limited has been accepted at $2.5 odd million. And I think it's going to be a fantastic result for that community in Garfield that deserve this. And hopefully I can see this being delivered and constructed maybe at the end of the season this year, and we can get it through by the next season, which would be fantastic to see for that, because it's a great group of people. The opposition just about bite my tongue. The Garfield Netball Club, they deserve this, to have this. I didn't say bunyip, luckily, I did say Nunagoon, but it's great to see this happening and something that's been, as I said, warranted for a long time, and I'm looking forward to its construction from this group. And when they've gone through this process, of course, it's been the tender process is quite stringent to go through to get to the right amount of funding at the end of the day and the right result for our community. So it's great to see, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. We'll now go to the seconder, Councillor Ross, to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. This has been a long journey. I can remember when the CEO, I think 14 years ago, went to see the netball finals in Cardinia in the West Gippsland League. And when he went there, he went to see Beaconsfield, who had their home quarters where all the finals were. When he got there, he asked them whereabouts the pavilion was, and they said they don't have one. And he said, where do they get changed? And they said, mainly in the car. Where do they change afterwards? He said, either in the car or they just go home. And they said, well, where do they store their stuff? They said, there's a bit of a container down the end there, and that's where they store all the information. This was the Premier League, and we had people in the Victorian team and everything playing in this league. And we even had one person who competed for Australia in this league. And he just said, how can this be? How can women in sport have nothing but the men have pavilions and things and everything? And the women said, oh, look, sometimes we can go into the men's change rooms and use their toilets or whatever if they sort of let us. And he said, that's not right. This is terrible. So he came back to council and he explained to council what he'd seen. And council set about having a plan that would be that we would refurb all of these, starting off with, I think Home Park Road got the first pavilion for netball. And then we had Officer get the second one. And it's gotten on and rolled out. It's taken 14 years to get to Garfield. But I must say, it is wonderful that we respect females in sport, because they do represent over 50% of all participants, and they deserve to have their own space for change rooms, for social space, to have a few things afterwards. They have a little kiosk and the whole lot of it. And from anyone who sees the ones that are already in action, they run them really, really well, and it is just a really respectful thing to do. I think this is wonderful. It's getting out further now, and I know that anyone who comes to our Shire always talks about our sporting facilities being really, really great, and they wish they had what we have here. Fortunately, we have a lot of green space around our facilities mostly, so we actually can build on those properties and expand them to put these things in. I know some of the inner Melbourne ones have a real problem with this. They can't expand on their building envelopes and do anything like that. So this is wonderful. It's great to see that council are investing in this. I mean, a lot of people have paid rates for a long time. So I always say it's your money just going back to you. So anyone who uses it in Garfield or around that area, they're going to see something come back for them. Anyway, I wait to see what it looks like when it's finally built, and I'm sure we'll get a visit down there to have a look. Thank you. I'll be supporting this.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. I will now go to Councillor Davies to speak.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillors Moore and Councillors Ross. I would like to briefly acknowledge that the pavilion has been funded jointly by Council, who have allocated $2.6 million, and the Victorian Government via Sport and Recreation Victoria, who are also contributing $800,000. So the total tendered that we will be awarding tonight of $2,501,282 will be within our budget. Maybe it'll even have savings. And this is a good outcome in terms of being something that we can afford responsibly, because we have allocated the money to it. It is a significant spend though, and we spent, as councillors and staff know, but the gallery don't know that we did spend, we've spent several hours working through our budget and trying to squeeze all the juice we can from our dollars to do what we need in through the next financial year and beyond. So I want to be sure that when I vote for any large tenders, that thorough procurement processes are being followed, and I am confident, and obviously some of the tendering information is confidential, but I'm confident that there has been 2 rounds of assessment and that sufficient criteria has been considered. So tonight I am voting in support of council awarding this tender, and I'd like to wish the club all the best. I have played netball rurally without facilities, and it's quite an exciting time for them. So I just want to reiterate that I am confident that the procurement process being followed is going to lead to a good outcome on this construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Any other councillors who would like to speak to this item? I see none, so I'll go back to the mover, Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Davis and Councillor Ross, for your fantastic input. Yes, I do acknowledge that the Victorian Sports and Recreation Victoria's their grant for 800,000 has gone towards this, and of course these things wouldn't happen until we get that initial injection of funding from our state government or our federal government, whichever. So it's a great thing, and of course the tender process has been followed, as pointed out by Councillor Davies. It's really great to see. It's under budget. Surprising. I'm amazed. In this day and age, with the way the building costs are and everything's gone through the roof when it comes down to building costs and whatever, so we better build it in a hurry. That's what I'm thinking of the way things are going with cost-wise. So it's one of those sort of things. I'm only asking my fellow councillors to vote favourably for this, because I think it's a really great result for our community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. We will now put this to a vote. All those in favour? I declare that carried. Item 6.2.3, Management of Domestic Basketball Competition. May I have a mover, please? Councillor Kowaczyk.
Thank you, Mayor Radford. I move that council support transitioning the domestic basketball competition at Cardinia Life to the PDBA as per the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Can I please ask for a seconder? Councillor Ross. I'll go to the mover to speak, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Ross, for the second. The domestic basketball competition at Cardinia Life has been managed by council through our major facilities contract partner. At a council briefing in May 21, officers presented the history of management of the domestic basketball competition. Since that time, the PDBA have established a board, recruiting board members with wide-ranging skills and experience, and have been proactive, working with council to position themselves to assume management of the domestic basketball competition. Our officers have liaised with the Aligned Leisure and consulted regularly with the PDBA and Basketball Victoria regarding the proposed transition, and officers believe the PDBA are ready and able to accept management of the domestic basketball competition. To reach this point, the PDBA board were required to meet a list of criteria as supported by councillors, as well as develop several plans and policies explaining how they would manage all facets of the domestic basketball competition prior to the transition. To their credit, they have been proactive and worked cooperatively with council with the goal of transitioning the domestic basketball competition at the start of the winter season. I and other councillors have been advocating for this for some time, but it had to be at the right time, in the belief that organised sport should be run by associations that have a passion and experience in their field. There were certain challenges holding that progress back, and that meant that council, through Aligned Leisure, had a responsibility to manage the competition in the best interests of the community. But it's pleasing to see that things have changed, and the PDBA have been able to meet the requirements put before them by council. Should this item be passed tonight, I would encourage the PDBA to continue to represent the interests of the whole of basketball community in our area. I'll leave it to other speakers now. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. I'll now go to a seconder. Councillor Ross, please.
Thank you, Mayor. This has an interesting history to this. When the Basketball Association moved over from Living and Learning, where they had a basketball court, they established four basketball courts, but there was no pool there. And the league actually ran it from day one themselves. And as the competition grew and expanded, in the end, they handed it back over to the YMCA and to council to run. Come years down the track, we've got more courts, it's a bigger establishment, and it sounds like they've got a whole lot more people there who feel confident that they can actually run the event, and they've lived up to their the request by council to come up to the standard that we would expect if they're going to run it. So I sincerely hope that we hand it back to them and it all goes well and they get what they wanted to achieve. I do support Councillor Kowalczyk's rhetoric around the fact that people who are passionate about things will always do things better than people who just do it for the sake of doing it. And I see that in our reserve committees, where people who are passionate for those reserve committees will always get to see things and understand things a bit closer. So I sincerely hope it all goes really well for them. I hope it works out the way they were hoping for, and council can support them in that. And they don't hand it back to us one day, but it actually is really successful and they go forward with it. Anyway, I'll be supporting this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Any other councillors who would like to speak? Councillor Davies.
Hello, thank you. Sorry, I am also in support of this motion to essentially change the ownership and the administration of Cardinia's basketball to a voluntary committee, to an association. When I was first elected to council, I had heard from numerous residents who'd shared concerns about the basketball, and I'd had limited involvement with two of my children, both playing for the under-8s, one at Henry Heat, one at Officer, and I thought that the program offered by Aligned Leisure was excellent, and it was much to my disappointment that my children didn't continue. But what I had heard was that council might not want the community to be able to run the program, and that the council was running basketball to earn money. But it turned out that it was a misconception, and there was a huge and complicated backstory. And as our deputy mayor, Councillor Kowalczyk, has said, we needed to ensure that if this happened, it happened at the right time, and we needed to ensure that the association was structured and ready to govern a program and run a quality program the way that our community deserves. So I really want to acknowledge the huge efforts undertaken to build their own organisation up, and also thank Aligned Leisure and previously the YMCA who have provided this service on behalf of council for our community. Lastly, I'd like to acknowledge Cardinia's staff, in particular Mr. Michael Casey, and likewise his staff and his management. They have worked tirelessly, keeping council involved and also empowering our community to be able to take this step now with responsibility and with hopefully to deliver an incredible program moving forward. So I'm very confident that the domestic basketball is going to move onwards and upwards, and I'm really excited and really hope my children start playing again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Any other councillors who would like to speak to this item? I see none, so I'll go back to the mover, Councillor Kowaczyk.
Thank you, Mayor Radford. Thank you also to Councillors Ross and Councillor Davies. I would also like to thank our officers for their work on this. Lots of briefings, lots of new information, and a pretty changing space early on in the process, so I thank them for that. Following the establishment of a board, the Pakenham District Basketball Association have worked cooperatively with council to put themselves in the position to transition the domestic basketball competition. Performance indicators have been established. The PDA have been open to feedback and have looked to partner with council on potential projects and future planning. Pending this council's support tonight, the final step of this process will be to execute a primary tenants lease with the PDBA. It will outline responsibilities for the management of the competition, hiring facilities, performance reporting, fees and charges, scheduling, conflict resolution and governance requirements. I hope my fellow councillors support this. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll now put this to a vote. All those in favour? I declare that carried. Thank you. Item 6.2.4, Economic Development Strategy 2023 to 2027. Can I ask for a mover? Councillor Kowaczyk.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that council formally adopts the Economic Development Strategy 2023 to 27.
Thank you. Can I please ask for a seconder? Councillor Davies. Thank you. I'll go to the mover to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Davies. The Economic Development Strategy lays out council's actions and commitment to grow, develop and support local business and the economy. This council is committed to building a sustainable Shire for present and future generations to enjoy. We recognise that we have some significant challenges ahead. Tackling climate change will continue to be one of the greatest challenges of our time, and as our community and economy continue to emerge from the pandemic, we face some headwinds in the form of uncertain economic times. We all want our Shire to be a place in which our community and visitors thrive and prosper, with a local economy that fosters innovation and supports local jobs. Council aspires to be a leading local authority that leverages the strength of the region in advocacy, regional planning and investment, while supporting and creating the opportunity for local jobs and business. The strategy's three primary pillars of partnerships and regionalism, experiencing Cardinia, and creating the new economy are the cornerstones of this strategy. It was developed in collaboration with business leaders and the local community. One of the results of the consultation was a list of priorities that this strategy needed to consider during its formation, and they were supporting local jobs, encouraging local industries, living sustainably, making valuable contributions to the nation, and protecting community, farms, industry, landscapes and biodiversity. I believe this strategy has come at a critical time for our Shire and is a good roadmap for our work in this space ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now go to our seconder, Councillor Davies, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. To me, what's most exciting is that this strategy attempts to address one of Cardinia's strategic indicators, which is indicating participation in local employment. The majority of our working population actually leave the Shire to gain employment, and I would like to see that number drastically reduce. We're all time poor, and we all know that we are transport challenged, and the time spent on a commute can be much better enjoyed with your family in front of the TV, sleeping. So I'm really excited. I'm excited that an innovative, resilient, thriving local economy has been planned for, and that we also encourage workplaces to be inclusive and promote health, well-being and safety of their workers. So I'm delighted to see this presented to Council for endorsement tonight and intend to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Any other councillors who would like to speak to this item? I see none, so I'll go back to the mover, Councillor Kowaczyk, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The Cardinia Shire Economic Development Strategy has been created in collaboration with our business leaders and the broader community. This strategy has a clear emphasis on local job creation, energising our state significant industrial precincts, supporting program initiatives for climate adaptation and increasing resilience and connections to the Cardinia Shire business community through the growth and strengthening of our local economy. This strategy will act as a guiding document for our officers to work toward and gives our community certainty when considering our economic priorities for the whole of the Shire. It's going to be an integral part of the way we support our local economy moving forward, and I hope my fellow councillors support this tonight. And just before I wrap up, Mayor, I would like to thank our officers for their hard work on this. I work with the economic development team in a number of different spaces, as do all councillors, and they do a fantastic job. So thank you.
Thank you, and ditto to that, Councillor Kowaczyk. We'll now put this to a vote. All those in favour? I declare that carried. Thank you. Item 6.2.5, Tender Evaluation Report, Professional Engineering Consultancy, C2 21068. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council accepts tenders submitted by numerous consultancies as per the documentation for registration of rates for CT 21-068 Professional Engineering Consultancy Services. As per the report, the contract duration is 2 years from endorsement with 2 optional extensions of 2 years each. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I please ask for a seconder? Councillor Springfield. Thank you. We'll go to the mover to speak, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So Cardinia Shire, in collaboration with the Bass Coast Shire, staff have created a panel for us to consider tonight of engineering service consultancies that could provide a range of different services. And as both councils serve the community with similar services for construction and upgrading and maintaining community infrastructure, the power in combining into a larger business than what we have has meant that we've been able to attract highly competitive rates to deliver the work we need as needed. This is a decision made with smart financial management in mind, and by creating a panel with fixed rates that can be approached, it serves to streamline and provide quality work. It would cost a fortune to have engineering specialists of the calibre of these specialist consultancies in-house at council, and this is a clever way to get work done. So this includes civil and structural engineering, traffic and transport engineering, asset management, geotechnical, survey staff, environmental and heritage consultants, recreation services consultants, flood modelling and drainage investigation, and WSID, water sensitive urban design investigators and designers, lighting auditors, and public and arborists and landscape architects as well. So I'm in improving this tonight. I have reviewed the confidential attachment, which gives us all the details of the different consultancies that have applied to go onto the panel, and that these have all been given due consideration and weighted and assessed. And I am confident that Council tonight has the documents available to ensure genuine considered procurement, and that I seek Council's support in endorsing it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. We'll now go to the seconder, Councillor Springfield, to speak, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'll support the motion that Councillor Davies has moved for this agenda item. I think this is a great way of efficiency to have these procurement panels of preferred tenderers, and that we utilise in a couple of different areas across the council. So I welcome this report highlighting the professional engineering consultancy services group outlined here, and I think this was, like I said, like Councillor Davies highlighted very well, this is it creates efficiencies when it comes to certain projects, and we have a panel of proven professionals that we can put this work across to, and it's not guaranteed that any one of them will necessarily take it up, but it makes a streamlined process of us being able to try and undertake that. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. Any other councillors who would like to speak to this item? I see none, so I'll go back to the mover to sum up.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Springfield, for seconding and supporting this initiative. I am really excited to see such quality tenderers and such a quality assessment being undertaken, and I look forward to the work that will continue to be delivered by our officers to provide the new projects and their responsible asset management moving into the future. So in conclusion, councillors, I seek your vote and support to award the tenderers as listed. To endorse the award of the panel as listed. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now put this to a vote. All those in favour? I declare that carried. Thank you. Item 6.2.6 Tender Evaluation Report, Microsoft Licensing, CT 23012. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Springfield.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Can I please ask for a seconder? Councillor Kowaczyk. I'll go to the mover to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, this report is just highlighting the provision of the Microsoft licensing for 3 years and awarding that contract for that. Very key point. All our computers are running off Microsoft here. It is actually quite a large integrated network of software that we undertake for all levels of this organisation. So it's not very fancy. I can't go cut a ribbon for this thing or go kick a football around the oval, so to speak. But this is a very important aspect of what underpins the work that council does in our technology infrastructure. So it's very important, and I'm very happy to award this contract tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. I'll now go to our seconder, Councillor Kowaczyk.
Thank you, Mayor Radford. A wise man just said earlier that if we didn't have this, not a lot of work would get done. So I'm happy to support this tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have any other councillors who would like to speak to this item? I see none, so I'll go back to the mover to sum up, please.
Nothing further to add. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. We'll now put this to a vote. All those in favour? I declare that carried. Item 6.5.1 Quarterly Resolutions Report, January to March 2023. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor. I ask that Council note the report detailing implementation of Council resolutions for the period January to March 2023.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Can I call for a seconder, please? Councillor Davies, thank you. I'll go to the mover, Councillor Cameron, to speak if you'd like.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Davies. The Chief Executive Officer is responsible for ensuring that council decisions are implemented without undue delay, and when requested, to report to council in respect of the implementation of these decisions. There has been a report attached to this document that informs the council about implementation of decisions, and in addition provides transparency to our community. This report is provided for the information of councillors to ensure transparency regarding the implementation of council decisions and to provide confidence to the council that decisions are implemented without undue delay. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll now go to a seconder, Councillor Davies, to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank Councillor Cameron for speaking to this item. I have reviewed the report and I am confident it's a true and accurate record of the council resolutions, and I am in support of council noting the report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other councillors who would like to speak to this item? I see none, so I'll go back to the mover to sum up, please. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you, Mayor. I have nothing further to add.
Thank you. We'll now put this to a vote. All those in favour? I declare that carried. Item 6.5.2, Major Projects Report. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council notes the report as per the officer's recommendations.
Thank you. Can I please call for a seconder? Councillor Ross, thank you. I'll go to the mover, Councillor Davies, to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Ross, for seconding. I have reviewed the report, and councillors are aware of the huge amount of investment across our Shire, some of it delivered by the state government, some by the private sector, and some by council itself. I would like to just briefly acknowledge Officer District Park as the Tumac Ward Councillor. It does fall within my ward boundary, but also about both Councillor Owen's ward and Councillor Radford's ward, and there is a lot of resident interest in it. Now, this project has been plagued by one issue after the other, and I do want to acknowledge the efforts of Cardinia staff in terms of revising tenders, revising scope to actually achieve something on the ground. The update at the moment is that we are revising the scope again to try and get something ready within the available budget to be put back out for tender in May 2023. I think this is about the third time. I have requested from the CEO that some increased levels of consultation can be provided to the community, so it's not just verbal updates from myself, and I'm not in a position where I'm just going, well, go check the council report. I would like to just acknowledge that this is a significant project, and that delays do happen. The pandemic hasn't helped, the rates haven't helped, but I'm doing what I can, and I know that the staff are to keep this on track and utilise the funding that was allocated to us. So other than that, I just really like to speak as briefly as possible, and just ask any other councillors to speak should they wish on any of their most notable projects or anything they'd like to reflect on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. I'll go to the seconder, Councillor Ross, to speak.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Davies, for raising this issue. This is really good because it sort of gives everyone an opportunity in their ward to highlight certain things that they need to get out there. These reports are upgraded from time to time, so we're just not reading off the same thing, they get upgraded. I'd like to highlight the IYU Recreational Reserve Athletics track. I know that we've already got people who travel all the way over to Casey to do their athletics over there at the moment, and I know the head guy who runs the Masters Athletics Club over there. He actually lives in Pakenham, so he's really interested in trying to see if anyone over 35 is interested in athletics. It doesn't have to be running either. They've got a lot of people who do walking as well, and this facility will allow people to do an all-weather sport. 10 lanes, wonderful groups of people. It just encourages people to get out and be active, and that's what it's all about, all age groups. And when this is up and going, the Junior Athletics Club, Pakenham Road Runners, Park Run, the whole lot of them will be able to utilise it. We're having a look now at the different options on the facilities that they'll have. We'll have some temporary ones in there at first, but we're looking at some modular sort of setup there, which takes less time to get constructed, and you probably get more bang for your buck. So considering if you look at what they've got right now, which is basically terrible and pathetic, they deserve this to come along quickly. They're sincerely hoping that it will be up and running for the next season, because with a grass track at the moment, it does require a lot of voluntary hours and a lot of money put in to get it up to standard. So they're hoping that the facility where the track's already done and ready to go, it's just the outside area with the growing of the grass and those sort of things that they're looking to get finished. So anyway, this will be a huge injection. I mean, it'll mean that our primary schools won't have to go over to the regional areas all the time. They'll be able to use the local space, and it will be the best facility outside of, say, Casey, all the way down into Gippsland. So people will come and use it. That's exciting, and it gives options too for even sports clubs like football clubs and that if your grounds get really, really wet and you want to go and do something, you can go and use these sort of facilities. Anyway, I look forward to that being done. That's a long time coming, and it looks very impressive at the moment. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Any other councillors who would like to speak to this item? I see none, so I'll go back to the mover, Councillor Davies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Ross, for speaking about IYU Reserve. I'm a former little athlete, and I know the challenges that come with the grass track, getting bad weather, and you might get washed out for half the season. And yeah, whilst yeah, and it's really exciting. And I know that there are concerns about the pavilion. When's that being done? And we need the pavilion as well. And I have heard that too from the community, and I'm yeah, really excited because I know that I believe it will be in next year's budget, but I don't want to, well, not, it will be budgeted for to be delivered within the next, when we can. So, but it has been a huge investment in that project, and it's going to be fantastic for our residents of all ages and abilities. So I'm just seeking tonight, councillors, that we note and support the report. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now put this to a vote. All those in favour, I declare that carried. Thank you. That concludes discussion of tonight's agenda items. Councillors, do you have any matters to report? Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to briefly report that I attended the celebration held at near the Beaconsfield railway station at the railway house, and there's a beautiful tree, and this has actually been promised by the Level Crossing Removal Authority to be retained. It wasn't originally, and the community was extremely distraught about that, and through incredible advocacy led by Mrs. Fran Healy and numerous members of the Beaconsfield committee, an incredible receptive and respectful effort too from the MPs, Emma Voulin and Michael Galea. Sorry, he slipped my mind, and he went to school with my siblings. I should know his name. I'm sorry, Michael. But I'd like to also acknowledge them for their advocacy too. So our community the celebration was wonderful. The community was so happy, so excited, and it was just lovely to see. I'm really excited to see all the level crossings across the Shire, but this was seen as a huge win by the community, and I was, yeah, and it was, yeah, just one of the highlights to see so much excitement and so much community support for something that, and to actually achieve it and get it listened to and get this major project to consider it and change it was a huge win, and I was delighted to witness it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Any other councillors? I'll go to Councillor Ross. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm really excited about something I went to see on Saturday. It was actually called Bushfire Prepare, and our emergency services team put this program together. And when you read the card, it's actually quite different to what I saw in person, because they do demonstrations where people can come along from the community. The Bushfire Prepare program is available online learning program. The Bushfire Prepare online program and website helps residents of high bushfire risk areas to prepare their property for the fire season. Bushfire Prepare aims to reduce the risk and impact of bushfires through engagement of local landholders in their own bushfire fuel management. Although it is designed for those properties 1 to 10 hectares in size, it is a useful tool for anyone in high-risk areas looking for tips on how to manage their land and fuel loads to reduce fire risk, not just on their own properties, but across the Shire. The amazing thing was I didn't know what to expect. I turned up and I thought I was going to see a static display of things about our bushfire management, which we often have here on council at the start of every fire season, and we get upgrades during it. What I turned up to was literally people backburning. We're the only Shire in Australia that is trialling this sort of a program, and it is really, really good. It's hands-on. They don't do all the displays for you. You actually get involved. There was half a dozen residents there, and we're explained that it's probably more in all for people who have got, say, driveways where a truck can never ever come in during a bushfire because it can never turn around. So therefore those people are just limited to their own devices. They either get out or potentially they burn there if they choose to stay. What they did was they were showing a driveway that went up, and on the sides of the driveway they were teaching people how to to burn out the really dry fuel that was there. And they were showing people how it's done. So to do this, you need to be educated. You need to go along. There's some very strict guidelines around what you do and the times that you do it. But you can actually go along to displays, and they've had other displays where people can come along and observe and learn what to do. And the amazing thing was, this is so environmentally friendly what they're doing. They do it very, very similar to the way that the Indigenous people do it with their own back burning. They don't burn the ground that badly that it germinates the seeds under the ground. They don't burn the green plants that are sitting there either. They don't burn insects. The animal habitats don't get destroyed. They go around trees that potentially might burn if there was a bushfire. So they're basically protecting the environment in a really good way. And they do it in a small way. Mind you, when I left, I smelt like I'd been in a bushfire with all my clothes. Wherever I was going, I had that cologne, the bushfire cologne. But it was really, really interesting. And you had experts there who were showing you step by step what to do. They were getting people involved as well. And they were just burning little areas at a time, sort of as they were going. And they were showing, look, if a bushfire was to come, that area there will ignite a little bit, but nowhere near what it would if all that fuel was in there. It was really, really interesting. I'm really proud to say that our Shire is piloting this, being in the second most fire-prone area in the world, part of the program by the state government encouraging councils to improve and be best practice, is looking at doing these sort of things and being more practical. Well, we are at the front. They wanted me to show the bag that they take with all the different things on it and the phone calls to make. They've got goodies in the bag. I'd encourage anyone out there who thinks that the fuel loads are terrible and the whole lot of it, particularly on your own property, to attend some of our sessions to learn what to do, because you actually can do something about it yourself. So, and there's a whole lot of support there, willing to help you, support you and show you what to do. It was really, really informative, and I was extremely proud to know that our officers are looking to expand best practice and be the forefront of all this. I know there was other councils there as well, a few people who came to have a look at what we were doing because they were that interested in this sort of program. Anyway, I thought it was great. I hope the next time some of my fellow councillors off telling you what we're doing might come along and have a visit, particularly those in the bushfire areas or whatever, because it's really, really interesting. It was hands-on, it was really good stuff, and it really does support. And at the moment, the only other people doing it are the Indigenous people who know how to do this and have done it for thousands of years. Anyway, I'd support everyone to come along and have a look and see what they're doing. And they give you a bit of lunch too while you're there. So if you have to go somewhere and you think I'm going to be there a long time, they give you a bit of lunch or whatever. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. I'll now go to Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Ross has given me a nice segue into where I'm going to go from here. And they always look after you down in Bunyip Way, Councillor, so it's a really good area to go down to, of course. The segue is that the fire danger period is restrictions have been changed now, of course, to the 11th of April. We can now safely do our burn-offs, and so just a thing to know, because it was going to be at the end of this month, but the CFA has changed it to the 11th of April. So now under restrictions that we have under our websites, if you follow what we have there, that there's our open air burning policy is very stringent, so it's something to be looked after as you do. Well, there's a couple of things I attended. One was on the 16th of March, which is the Community Safety Policy Search conference, and it was a fantastic thing to do with the community and a lot of the staff. We got together and I guess I had the old butcher's paper, and we spoke about what we thought was the community safety issues, how we can address them and put them into a conference and into policy. So this will go into our policy. So it was a really great thing to attend for a few hours, but it was really good to do. And the other thing was at the Bunyip Show. I want to thank the committee of the Bunyip Show. They do a great job down there. I noticed Councillor Ross was there on the day. and they had the actual market on the same day, which I thought was a great thing to have. So there's a big crowd at the Bunyip Show, probably the biggest I've seen. So it was really good to see all the local community attending and going through this nostalgic show, going through the pavilion with the usual big pumpkins, etc., etc. So it was a really great event, and I recommend anyone to go there next year when it's on. The other thing was actually in Westerport Ward, but I hope I'm not crossing across my fellow councillor, Councillor Cameron, where the Harewood Heritage Festival was a fantastic event, as always, and all the money raised there, all the funding that's raised there goes back to the Cooey Up Regional Health there in Cooey. There was the Lions Club were there, and it was a really fantastic day. I know that I recognise Councillor Cameron, who got dressed up in heritage an outfit. It was really a lot of fun to do on the day, and I noticed Councillor Ross was also there on the day. So it was a really good, great event there at right on our outside skirts of Cardinia Shire, near the Tooradin Airport. So it's on the extremity right alongside the Cardinia Creek. So it's the extremity of Cardinia Shire. So it's a beautiful property, Harewood, and just beautifully maintained by Dr. Pat McWhirter, who was the custodian who lives there. And has lived there for 30 years and looked after this property in a magnificent state. So it's if you get a chance to go and see Harewood Heritage, the property there in sort of Tooradin, it's worthwhile seeing. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I'll now go to Councillor Springfield.
Thank you, ma'am. Just a couple of quick mentions. A couple of weeks back, I attended the Rotary Club of Emerald Pride of Workmanship Awards, and it was a fantastic event held at the Lakeside Discovery Centre, which is always a great place to have a function. If you haven't been there yet, it really is a pretty good venue. But the Rotary Club did such a great job. I know that my neighbour here, Councillor Moore, is a big advocate for the Rotary Club, but the Emerald Rotary Club especially, I think, really punches well above its weight. You know, every event, every fundraiser I've ever been to, it's overly attended. It's really well attended. They've got a great, a synergy of people involved within that group, and that extends into the community. And these awards were all about local businesses that nominate someone within their business as a recipient of a rising above for the Pride of Workmanship Awards. And so I really saluted a lot of people in some of our businesses across Emerald and the Hills region there, that without that, they'd never get the recognition and support like they did from this event. And it all goes towards raising funds for some of the great work that the Rotary Club do. But it's a lovely event. Another quick mention on the other night, because it's here on my calendar. I went to the AGM for the Josie By-South Reserve Committee. And, you know, it's one of those little tucked away places. You go, what's the Josie By-South Reserve Committee? But this great group of volunteers, and there's only a small group of volunteers, they run the horse riding club down there in Cockatoo. I think they believe it's our only horse riding club that has free public access to their arena. So it's off-street parking. Anyone with horses can come. The gate's not locked. You can come in there off street, come and use the arena, which is all set up perfectly. I know our CEO has a bit of a horse loving background as well. They do a great job. And again, we're going to support and salute our volunteers out there. Without them looking after these reserves and doing these extra bits, you know, for the whole community to utilise, we wouldn't have such great assets as we do in Cardinia. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other councillors who would like to speak? I'll go to Councillor Kowaczyk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Radford. I had the opportunity to recently attend a Fasting in My Religion event put on by the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, and can I say Ramadan Mubarak to our friends in the Muslim community. I just want to acknowledge a special time in the year for so many, whether it's Passover, Vaisakhi or the Easter periods that we've just had. A really special time to catch up with family and friends, so I hope everyone's had a good time of year there. The Mayor and I attended a Women in Rescue event at SES Pakenham, which was a fantastic training day. Thanks to Dee as a party for the invitation. What we got to see and what the training involved was groups of women only learning how to use the different tools that they have to use when they do road crash rescues. So the Jaws of Life, the glass cutters, and it was really, really full on and really eye-opening for someone like myself who've never been involved in that, and really powerful to see. So thank you to our SES Pakenham branch for all the work that they do in our community and for the opportunity to attend that. And I know the Mayor had a great time there as well. Since our last meeting, we've obviously had a number of citizenship ceremonies, and I also had the opportunity to attend Lakeside Primary School with our Mayor, and lots of councillors have done this, but it is one of the best parts of our jobs, is being able to go to schools and speak to little kids who are passionate about learning and about democracy, and you always get a couple of really curly questions, but it's certainly one of the highlights, and it was lots of fun. So I'll leave it there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. And one of the highlighted questions was, does the Mayor have a special breakfast? I said, no, but are you offering? No. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak? I see none. So I will ask, are there any petitions, councillors? None of those either. So that concludes tonight's meeting. Thank you, everybody, for your attendance in the gallery or online, and to councillors and council officers for being here tonight. I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you.